For centuries, we've kind of been told there's this huge wall between two different worlds: the world of science, all facts and figures, and the world of spirituality, which is all about faith and intuition. But what if that wall is just an illusion? Today, we're going to dig into a fascinating lecture, almost 50 years old, that argued this whole paradox was never even real to begin with.
Okay, so here's the classic setup, right? On one side, you've got science. It deals with stuff you can touch, objective matter, provable logic, everything we know and can measure. And on the other side, spirituality. That's all about subjective consciousness, deep personal faith, and all the mysteries of the unknown. They really do seem like total opposites, and that's exactly where this supposed conflict gets started.
But this is where our source material just flips the whole script. Nearly 50 years ago, a philosophical teacher, Master E.K., said, "This antagonism is just an idea we made up." He basically claimed that the paradox itself, the one thing we all assume is true, is actually the one thing that isn't.
All right, so how do we start to pull this paradox apart? Well, the first step is to look at science not as some fixed set of beliefs, but as what it really is, an evolving journey of discovery.
Science has gone through this radical transformation. Back in the 19th century, you could say it was a slave to matter. It only believed what it could physically see and touch. But by the 20th century, it became a master of space, exploring these realms way beyond what's tangible. And the lecture suggests its future is even more profound, learning to unfold into nature.
So what this really means is that the old materialistic label just doesn't fit modern science anymore. Its focus is totally shifted from the solid stuff all around us to the seemingly empty space between everything. And as it turns out, that space isn't empty at all.
And just listen to the language here. Science isn't just measuring space anymore, it's feeling its murmurs of consciousness. It's starting to see space as this living thing with a personality. That is a mind-blowing departure from the old idea of a dead, empty vacuum.
This huge shift in science kind of forces us to ask a much deeper question. If our best tools are showing us a universe that's way stranger than we ever imagined, what does that say about the limits of our own perception? Are we really seeing the whole picture?
This was the ultimate gotcha question back in the day. A friend actually challenged Master E.K. with what he thought was the final proof. "Hey, we've walked on the moon. We've conquered it. So much for all your mystical, planetary influences. This was supposed to be it, right? The final victory of material fact over ancient belief."
But instead of arguing back, he told this brilliant little story. He said, imagine two ants crawling around on a man's coat. One ant says to the other, "I think we're on some kind of giant living being." But the other ant is a total skeptic.
And right there, that's the whole flaw in our logic, isn't it? The skeptical ant travels all over the coat, comes back and proudly declares, "I've explored the entire surface. There is no man here. I've officially disproven it." See? It mistook the surface, the coat, for the entire reality of the person wearing it.
And, this idea that reality has these hidden layers, it's not new at all. Not by a long shot. In fact, ancient wisdom traditions use these really powerful symbols to talk about it. And one of the most important was the coiled serpent.
See, the serpent's coils weren't just for show. They represented the different layers of existence, everything from dense matter to subtle forces to the planes of the mind. The serpent unwinding? That symbolized the act of creation itself, a whole universe unfolding from a single, timeless center. It's a vision that beautifully holds both science and spirit together as one thing.
Okay, so all of this builds towards a really interesting potential future. One where these two paths don't just, exist side by side, but actually merge into a single, unified reality.
What the lecture suggests is that we need a complete shift in our basic attitude. We've got to move away from that old, aggressive idea of conquering nature and start to embrace a future where we learn to unfold into nature, becoming a harmonious part of it all.
Just think about it for a second. Do we really conquer electricity? Of course not. We learn its rules, we respect its laws, and it's only by honoring them that we get to use its amazing power. Our greatest scientific breakthroughs have always come from cooperating with nature's principles, not from trying to dominate them.
So with this new perspective, our whole idea of space gets turned on its head. It's not a void anymore, it's the source. It's a living, dynamic reservoir where electricity, consciousness, and basically all of creation comes from.
So, wait a minute. If science is out there exploring consciousness in space and spirituality is exploring the consciousness within us, where's the actual conflict?
The argument here is that the only barrier left is the one we've built inside our own minds, purely out of ignorance.
And this all leads to the final and maybe the most profound idea in the whole lecture, which is perfectly captured in this ancient story about the ultimate search.
So the story goes like this. There's this giant, right? And he is furious because his brother was killed by God. So he sets out to find God and get his revenge. He searches every single inch of the earth. He scours the 7 plains above us and the 7 plains below. He looks absolutely everywhere and finds nothing.
He comes back totally defeated and angry, and he's like, that's it, God doesn't exist. But then a wise sage named Narada shows up and tells him he's been looking in all the wrong places. And he gives him this one last kind of baffling instruction: search in your own heart.
So the sage gives him the power to finally look within himself. And when he does, Narada asks him, well, did you find God? And the giant replies in total confusion, no, I found my photograph there. He found a perfect reflection of himself. And that right there is the incredible punchline of the story. The ultimate truth he was desperately seeking on the outside was actually hidden inside him the whole time. The big aha moment happens when that illusion of a separate, individual self, the giant, finally dies, and that allows the universal consciousness to be born.
And that brings everything full circle, doesn't it? Master EK concludes that the final destination of any true search, doesn't matter if it's scientific or spiritual, is realizing that the seeker and the thing being sought are one and the same. The person who's looking for truth ultimately discovers that they are the truth. So, that leaves us with this one last really fascinating question to chew on. If the truth we're all looking for is already inside of us, then what's the whole point of the journey? You know, maybe the search isn't about finding a destination at all. Maybe it's about the incredible transformation that happens to us along the way.